Hello, everybody. I never know how to start these things, how to start these videos. This overwhelming nervousness always comes over me every time I think about starting a video. God's really helping me. I just said a prayer for him to help me with this video. It's gonna be rather long. I'm gonna try to keep it under 30 minutes. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is going to be my full testimony video. I've tried to film this 3 times, not today, but within the past couple months, and every time I finished, it just never seemed to be the right time. I don't know if that was because I'm scared or it just simply wasn't the right time. Those are the lines that I sometimes have a hard time differentiating. But yeah, today I feel really led and inspired to finally share everything in great detail with you guys. And yeah, I hope that this speaks to you in some way. I hope that, I pray that this video reaches everybody who God wants it to reach, and falls on ears, and maybe offers some confirmations if you've been experiencing anything within the past days. So yeah, I really encourage you to sit back and relax. I envision you just chilling, sipping on some tea, or maybe just walking around the house doing chores. But that's just what I'm doing. You could be doing whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just gonna start. Period. I have some notes, so if you ever see me oh, that's what I'm looking at, my notes, because I really don't want to forget anything. Okay, so I'll start with some childhood background. I come from a Christian family, and yeah, I mean, everybody in my family considers themselves to be Christian and are Christian, and love Jesus. And so it was the same for me, from 0 to 10. I always describe those years within myself and other kids to just kind of be years of unconsciousness. You remember stuff, but it's you're a kid, you're living and doing the thing. So yeah, I mean, from 0 to 10, it was just rather standard childhood things, and we never really went to church or anything like that. There was this perspective that church was not the way to go, and it wasn't necessary, because all of the churches that my family have belonged to just was full of gossip and not nice people, and so they were just you don't need church, you just need the Bible, and you need to pray and develop your own relationship with God. And we would have fellowships, however, so we would sometimes get together and just share testimonies and fellowship, and maybe read some chapters together. So that was considered our church. So that was great. And fast forwarding around the time that I was 14, 15, or 13, 14, 15, we would have Bible studies that began to trouble me very quickly, especially in the book of Job. Job used to make me cry, because it really kind of outlines, it outlines suffering in a way that troubled me, because in the first couple chapters it says that that Satan went to God and asked him permission to basically put Job through all this tribulation, and to see that God allowed it hurt me for years, all the way literally up until last month. Okay, and so we'll get to that point. But so that was over 11 years. I have been so confused and heartbroken over the book of Job, because God ordained his suffering. And I always used to think why? Wow, I'm so happy, because the last time I made this video, last time I tried to record this video, God hadn't answered me yet, And so having the answer now, or just having God lead me through that and deal with that with me now, is great. I feel like this is great. So I just never understood why that happened, which really disenchanted me with Christianity overall, deeply, really deeply, actually. So I had lots of questions with my family about Job, and no one answered. They just told me to pray, and not that I didn't know how to pray. I would just, they would tell me how, but I would ask God, and I just wouldn't hear anything for years. And so, wow, God is so good, because that was necessary for me to go through those years. And I can only see that in retrospect. God is great. So fast forwarding from that, so since like around 14, I had developed a really strong attraction to women, and I considered myself to be gay. There was the lack of attraction to guys, period. Like, I would be like, yeah, he's cute, but like, I don't care. Like, I would agree with some of my girlfriends if they were just like, oh, he's like, whatever, cute or attractive. But I wouldn't care about it, like, it wouldn't make me feel anything, or like make me like giddy or anything. Like, I just simply wouldn't care. And and I knew that homosexuality and Christianity, there was like so much to be said about so many people, by so many people, regarding the relationship between the two. And this troubled me from when I was 16, from when I was 14 all the way up until I was 16. When I was 16, I was on the phone with my best friend, and it was not a school night, so it was either a Friday night or a Saturday night, and we were just like up on the phone for hours. I remember just like lounging around in my room, and just like in all different positions, just on the phone, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Right? 16-year-olds. And so we were talking, because she was attracted to women as well. So we were on the phone, like, questioning, like, okay, so if we're gay and we die, that means I can't see, like, we were sad that God could possibly send us to hell, right? But then at the same time, I remember us talking about it, like, I can't see him doing that, like, because it's not that we are in the part of the Ku Klux Klan, like, we're not, like, a part of a hate group or anything like that. Like, we're loving people, like, we love women. It's not like we hate guys, it's just simply that we love women, so it's like, I can't see him doing that. And so, but both having Christian backgrounds, it just didn't sit right with us. So we were calling people on three-way and just asking them their opinion, and saying, like, just so curious, like, what do you think God will say? Like, what? No one knew, of course. We called my cousin. We were like, Kim, like, and the Bible says that, like, we're going to go to hell, like, if we're gay. What do you think? And she was like, I don't know. And then I called my mom, and my mom was just like, pray about it. We called like some of my best friends' people, and they, no one had answers, right? So I remember that conversation just eventually getting really heavy, because it's like, I don't want to appear as though I'm not pleasing God, like, that really hurt me. Him looking at me with disgust, the thought of him looking at me with disgust, and the thought of me coming to him, a good person, but gay, and him saying, oh, get out of here, like, you're going to hell forever. I cannot fathom foreverness, eternity. I have such a finite mind. And I remember thinking at that time, like, I can't wrap my mind around forever, like, and so to think of God doing that also disenchanted me, because I was just so confused about it. What follows? Boy, oh boy. So we chalk it up, really melancholy, say that we'll just like continue this conversation later. Then that night I go to sleep. Oh, God, it's so good. That night, I go to sleep. I have a rapture dream, my first rapture dream. So now, dream time, right? In this dream, I remember chilling with my mom. Like, we were on this main street here in Philly called Broad Street, and the rapture was happening. So I remember looking up and seeing like the clouds open, and I remember looking down and seeing the ground open, okay? So the ground was like cracking, and I remember it was chaos everywhere, havoc. Like, people were scattering like ants, seriously. And so my mom, the rapture and like people being swallowed into hell was happening simultaneously. you know? So my mom was like floating up, ever so beautifully, you know, floating up. And I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to be with her. Like, peace, mom. There was this understanding that like, I'll see you soon, right? But simultaneously, there was this huge wave of fire coming down Broad Street, and like shadows on the ground that like personified. So they were like shadows. You know how like, shadows are cast on the ground, but then these shadows like stood up and became like shadow beings, you know? And they were swallowing people into hell. And when they swallowed people into hell, you automatically knew why they were going. So I think, like, for example, I don't think this happened in a dream, but for example, someone would be swallowed into hell and you would hear vanity. Someone would be swallowed into hell, you would hear idolatry. So my best friend, who I was just on the phone with when I was in my waking state, was far off in the distance, and she was swallowed up, and you heard homosexuality, and then the wave of fire was coming towards me, and then I woke up right before it got me, right? So right when it was like near my face, that's when I like woke up and I shot up, and I was like so scared. I was panting really hard, really freaking out. And then I lay back down on my bed. My bed is here, my feet are here, my head is here. I have a window that is just like this. So I'm like just looking out the window, right? And then, God is amazing. My first outer body experience with God. I'm looking out the window, this huge, brilliant, bright ball of light descends down to my window and basically like encapsulates the window. The window just disappears in this huge ball of light, and I'm looking at it like, because it's the morning time and the sun is up, but it's just like a glowy yellow vibe, you know, like very indirect sunlight. But this looked like the sun had descended to my bedroom window, and it was so much more brilliant than the sun, but I could stand to look at it. As I'm looking at this ball of light, all like my whole body is like drenched in peace. Think of like really thick olive oil, right? And just imagine someone having a 5-gallon bucket and like throwing it on you, and then it feels like liquid glory, liquid peace just overcame me, and then I was not scared at all. And in fact, before God spoke to me, which I'll tell you what he said, before God spoke to me, there was like these, I can't describe it. It was like this inner knowing, or like someone, I don't know if it was angels or just, I don't know, but like I just heard like, don't be afraid. There's no reason to fear. Don't be afraid. And then I wasn't, because I was drenched in glory. Okay. So then, after I heard that, I was like, yo, I'm not afraid. This is the best feeling that I've ever had in my life. Then God speaks to me and says, Jasmine, do not worry. In the end, you will be with me, right? Jasmine, do not worry. In the end, you will be with me. And then I'm looking, and I'm like kind of in a trance-like state, and I'm nodding my head like, yes, I receive it. Like, yes, that's what I want, you know? So then after that, like maybe 10 seconds passes, and then the light disappears. Right when the light disappears, like a light switch, right when that light disappears, I slam back down on my bed, and I'm like, what? I was in the air? Like the slam back down on my bed was equivalent to me, like the bounce was equivalent to me being like 2 feet elevated in the air. And then I slammed back down on my bed, not even having known that I was in the air. And then I shoot back up like I did when I woke up from my dream, shoot back up with a whole different vibe. Okay. So a whole different vibe. And then I run downstairs to my mom, and I'm so frantic. I'm so grateful that she was there. I'm grateful that this happened on a night that was not a school night, because like, I don't know, it just would have looked very differently. But So then I ran downstairs. I was frantic. She couldn't understand what I was saying because I'm like, I just saw God, and then he said this, and then this happened. I had this dream, and then blah, 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 blah. And then she told me to write it down, and she said that I wrote like 5 pages front and back in under like 5 minutes because I was just like going. And I'm so sad that I lost that paper, but I'm so grateful that I remember the memory and I can rewrite it if I want to, you know, because when God gives you things, it's almost like it just is committed to your memory much more strongly than any other dream that you may have, you know, that's not from God, but yeah. And so I clung to that experience for the next, I want to say, which is so unfortunate, you know, now that I look back at it and I'm saying it out loud to you. I clung to that experience and I clung to God for the next 4 years after that, and like really dedicated myself to him. What I will say right now before continuing is that I took that dream to mean that homosexuality was okay, and it doesn't matter if you're homosexual because God just told me that in the end I'm going to be with him. So therefore, if me, a homosexual, is going to be with God in the end, so therefore homosexuality is fine. Literally all that God said was that in the end you will be with me. He didn't say anything else, okay? My deduction was that homosexuality was okay, and I carried that for the next 10 years. I'm 26 now. And literally just a couple months ago, God corrected me. And it's like God's timing is amazing, okay? God's timing is amazing. He allowed me to believe that I was fine. I think because for the past decade, I wouldn't, like, Christianity would have had a worse taste in my mouth. And when I strayed, it would have been much harder for me to come back. That just came to me just now. Like, I don't know. But God told me like a couple months ago that that was not the case. But for the last 10 years, I'm thinking and spreading the word that homosexuality is okay because God gave me this experience. And so therefore that means that without asking, I didn't say one prayer for discernment. I didn't say one prayer for trying to understand what this meant. My 16-year-old mind was just like, oh, God loves me that much that he heard my conversation with my best friend, heard it, responded immediately by giving me a dream, which I was not raptured in that dream, and I'm just now understanding the importance of that. Whatever. And enough to visit me in my bedroom. He loved me that much, so therefore I would be telling people, don't stray from God. That's what I was saying. Don't stray from him. Like, it doesn't matter if you're gay. It doesn't matter, you know? So that happened, and that experience inspired me so much to continue being a Christian, right? Like, all of my confusion and frustration about Job, I was like, you know what? I don't understand it. But God came to me and spoke to me, and I'm clinging to that. So when I was 16, I got really deep into Joel Osteen. And I was just really into the word. It was really encouraging for me to read the Bible with a pastor at that time. And since we didn't go to church, and I just looked for the most ubiquitous pastor, and, you know, it was Joel Osteen. And so from when I was like 16 to 20, I was like really reading the Bible. I read so much of the Gospels and like took notes and had different highlighters, you know what I mean? And like was simultaneously reading Joel's books alongside the Bible. And thereafter, I moved to California. So I'm from Philly, and then I moved to California. And when I was in California, I was still a Christian. So when I was 21, when I moved to California, I was still a Christian, but it wasn't like right now. It just seems so much more deep than at that time. What I'm able to say now is that the reason for that is because I was reading the Bible through the lens of a prosperity preacher, prosperity pastor. And I would remember Joel's words more than the Bible's words, you know? Like, I would remember Joel's kitschy sayings more than verses in the Bible. And so if that's the case, then there's no way for it to really like take hold as powerfully as the Holy Spirit can make something take hold. So when I moved to California, I was still a Christian. And all the way up until I moved back to Philly, I was still a Christian, which is like a 2-year period. And but something happened. Like when I was in California, I met so many people, and I remember talking to my mom on the phone about them, saying like, yeah, they're just so into witchcraft here. Like so many people in my neighborhood are just like using cards and like all these divination tools, and like we were like the only people of color. I moved there with my girlfriend at that time. And we were the only people of color in a county. It was really hard. It was like small town. It's beautiful, like near the ocean and the redwoods, but it was a really small town. And and there was not much diversity. And we met this one other black woman who really needed like a lot of help. She had a lot of like medical things wrong with her, and like family estrangement, who were down in Sacramento. And so we were helping her a lot. And I remember like she had sciatica, and so we brought her in the house to just kind of like nurse her sciatica and like kind of keep her company, because no one wanted to be around her because there were a lot of racist people over there. So I remember she had this necklace on. It was like a rabbit's foot and like a crystal and like a feather or something. And I remember like looking at it, and she was just like, yeah, I dabble in witchcraft, like I just dabble. I'm not like a witch or anything, but like I'll teach you about crystals. Like I'll teach you about different like spells that you can do. And so I remember saying like, no, thank you. Like you're tripping, basically, and giving my partner at that time like this look like, who does she think I am, a witch? She's like, no, I'm not a witch. You know what I mean? So then I remember being on the phone with my mom again, was like talking about all these people, like, yeah, they practice heavy witchcraft over here. Like, I don't understand it. I had a prayer closet when I was in California. Come the time when I was 23, something changed. Right when I got back to Philly, I just simply was not a Christian anymore. Like I have no idea what happened. It just was not a part of me anymore. I have no idea where my Bible went. Like it was gone. like because it wasn't my expectation to be back in Philly, I think. So when I got back to Philly, I was like trying to get my life together in a way that that I wanted, I guess. So I became so consumed about like trying to find a job that I wanted, and like trying to find a place to live that I wanted, and like so that just enveloped me fully. And then everything else fell to the wayside. Literally, I no longer factor God in at all. So that's when I was 23. And for the next 3 years, I'm 26 now. So for the next 3 years, I got really, 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 really deep into the New Age movement. Really deep. Like, first it began with meditation. I think because things were so hectic and I was trying to find ways to calm down, and for some reason I just didn't read the Bible. I didn't have it. And I didn't even realize that I lost it until like a couple months ago from now. So it began with meditation and just a way to calm down. And then I wanted to figure out ways to meditate better. So then I started looking into Mahayana Buddhism. And then from there, I got re-exposed to like the law of attraction. And so it was really just like the meditation and the law of attraction, how it began. And from there, I just started going into so many other disciplines within the New Age movement, where, like I said, the law of attraction, like create this idea of creating your own reality, and trying to, like, when I would meditate, I would have these intentions of like connecting to my higher self, and like, because my higher self is God, that's the idea. Because you are a part of the universe. So if you connect to your higher self and kind of like purge yourself of all of the programming, all of the social programming that you have in your mind, you'll be able to connect to your higher self and see what your like purpose is, and like reach nirvana and have enlightenment with life. So my meditation then changed from trying to calm down to trying to access this higher self. and see like how it would lead me. And also realizing while I was meditating, I was trying to remember and realize and integrate the fact that I am the universe. The universe in the New Age movement is equated with God. And I would, at first I would use the two interchangeably, but then I was like, God just feels terrible. The word God feels terrible in my mouth. So I'm not saying that anymore. I'm saying the universe, right? So yeah, so that's what the law of attraction did. Idea of creating my own reality. I'm looking at my notes. I got into like, what are those things called? Kind of like sound cleansing, sound healing, binaural beats. Yeah, binaural beats. I got really into that and really obsessed with all the numbers and like 432 and like 517 and like 440 and like listening to things like for hours. I would dedicate hours, like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours before I went to sleep. I would meditate. I would have this routine. And yeah, I was really into binaural beats and like guided meditations, which is super channeled. Like, I was about to dismiss it, but I think it's really important to say it's really channeled material, the same as channel material that you would read, that has been charged with a spirit. And if you knowingly read that, you adopt it because you are consenting with that spirit. Same thing with like different guided meditations. I would know that they are trying to connect me and my subconscious and my intuition with this higher spirit so that I could therefore be led, right? Such masquerading as light. Okay, I'm not even going to get into that yet. I'm going to tell you what else I was doing. Eventually, because none of those things so the law of attraction, I feel like, is a really real thing. Okay, I don't think that it's fake. I don't think that it's false. I don't think that any of this is false. Creating your own reality, I feel like that language is a little false because it's not you. It is, God revealed to me that it is you co-conspiring with the elites of the occult. You co-conspiring with the elites of the occult, and they are bringing forth what comes out of your mouth, matching it, making it seem like it's you, but it's not you, okay? It's you co-conspiring with something that is bad. For right now, I'll say that. And around this time, I also got into tarot. And for those who don't know what tarot is, it's another divination tool where it's like cards. And I don't really want to get too deep into that, but basically you do different drawings for any questions that you have. You pose them to the universe and you do a drawing of whatever your intuition is led to draw, however many cards your intuition is led to draw. You can get tarot readings done by a tarot reader. It's kind of similar to like a psychic, and yeah, they're really not good. I'll tell you why they're not good. Well, I already did, but I also got into Reiki. Did it once. And so I really just got super deep into these things. I also got into astrology because every single time I would get my astrology read by a person who studied it, it was so on point, okay? And I was like, yo, this is undeniable. Like, what else did I do? Yeah, spirit-led meditation, tarot, frequency-based life. It was like a lot of pressure to exist on a certain frequency, like the law of attraction, and so that you can attract the things that you want. And so there was like this kind of psychosis that came over me because it was like, so if I'm sad, do I not? There's like so many contradictions. It's like, okay, so if I'm sad, do I not be honest with myself and honor my sadness? Do I just fake it, like, and be like, oh, I'm vibrating high, like I'm gonna bottle up my feelings so that I can keep attracting the things that I'm trying to create with this life, you know? So all of this, what I'll say, like I said, is real. These things are real. These things are not fake. That is not what I'm coming on here to say. They are just presented by an entity that is masquerading as light, but is actually evil. Okay, thank you, Lord, for this boldness. I asked for boldness. So yeah, it wants you to think that you are on this ascension path, that you are on the road to enlightenment, that you are getting closer to the truth, right? But it's false. It's false. I used to I would be able to astral project on a drop of a dime. Like, and I had many different encounters with beings, you know? Like, that's why I'm saying this stuff is real. I had so many encounters with beings because of this astral projection. And I thought that validated the truth. I remember not even having to take anything. I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't doing any type of drugs. I just would be able to like quiet myself and focus enough, or that's at least what I was thinking at that time. But it's really just like consent of a spirit to take over me. And in order to bring me to these states and to fly and see like, oh, this is just about love. And like, I heard this voice that was talking about love and how love is just basically the truth. And so be loving. That's what I thought, right? So I remember flying with all of these things and spreading the word about them and trying to get into spaces with people that were practicing the same things. And all throughout this time, anything that I was manifesting was really... How do I describe this? Holy Spirit, help me. It's kind of like, say you wanted some light, right? Things that I would be manifesting would be like a flashlight. But the thing that I wanted would be the sun. You know what I mean? So like, I'm trying to manifest a light. But I would produce flashlights. This fake fluorescent light. Light nonetheless, where before I may have not had any flashlight. You know, so I am manifesting light, but it's in the form of a flashlight instead of the sun. You know what I mean? Dang, I think that's the best analogy for real. And so therefore it would be fruitful, but it wouldn't be fulfilling. And I would be like, I'm gonna stop scratching my face. It would be fruitful, but not fulfilling. And then I would just be like, this is weird, you know? There would be like this weird emptiness of, I don't know. And then, so I would be satisfied for like a couple months. And then a couple months later, I would be in this like really depressed state, trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, trying to find out where in my frequency I'm low so that I can correct it and then be high again. And then like, I would feel like I would get all these answers from the tarot cards that would just be like, amazingly true, you know, and just like you could tell that I was talking to something because these cards would be talking back. Trust me, like it's not make it up in your own mind. It's like you would see it, okay? So I would just go deeper into these things and deeper and deeper. I would meditate longer. I would pull tarot more in a day. I would look into astrology much more deeply. I would look into my birth chart much more deeply. I would listen to binaural beats way longer, you know, and just get deeper and deeper and deeper into all of this stuff. And the same thing would happen. It would happen more frequently because I'm deeper into it, making more abodes with these spirits. But it would be the same thing. I would keep pumping out flashlights. You know what I mean? It was so weird. And then like now that I look back on it, it was the saddest point of my life. The type of peace that I had was like peace that I had never really experienced, but it was so fleeting. It would not stay with me. And I'd be like, oh, I have to go higher. I have to go deeper, you know, into this in order to sustain my peace. So as the progression of all of this happened over the past 3 years, the more broken my heart became. Like I remember feeling, literally like I was going through heartbreak, like, but nothing happened. Nobody died. No one broke up with me. Like nothing drastic happened for me to feel this type of sustaining heartbreak. And I was so confused about it. So I'm like, obviously I'm doing something wrong. Let me go get some Reiki, right? What Reiki is, I mean, at least from what I understand, because I didn't really get too deep into Reiki, but I was seeking healing for this because I was like, I just don't understand why it feels like my chest is about to fall out of itself. Okay, that type of heartbreak. So I went to get Reiki done. And oh yeah, so for those who don't know what Reiki is, it's basically some type of like spiritual healing. And you go to a Reiki master, and the Reiki master kind of like spends some time with you, feeling what spirits are inside of you and like clearing them from your body. Like, you know, I'm saying this is like, what are you doing? Oh gosh, oh my goodness. So I went and got that done, and then I walked in, and she immediately felt something in my chest. So I was like, yeah, she's the real deal. You know what I mean? Like, she knows why I'm here. She feels what I'm feeling in my chest, and I'm so grateful because she's gonna clear it. So she cleared it out as well, she said, and invited me to come back for a shamanic healing. Basically, a shaman is a person who connects with spirits, like your spirit guides, your angels, whatever, and just talk to them and be like, what does Jasmine need to do? And then the spirits tell the shaman, and then the Reiki healer tells you. Okay, so then you follow suit over whatever is said. So she invited me to come back for that, and it was more expensive, but I think that was like maybe 10% of the motivation of her telling me to come back. I think she just realized that, like, no, I think what you have inside of you needs a shamanic healing. Like, I can't do it, basically, is what she was saying. So then I left there feeling really defeated, and it felt like the spirits in me had grown and like were breaking my heart even more than I thought was possible. So then I went to like an acupuncturist who remember talking to her. She asked me why I was there. She was like the kindest woman I've ever met in my life, at least I thought. So I went to her and I was like, yeah, I just don't understand why I'm feeling this terrible heartbreak. So then she put these pins in my meridians so that, you know, the spirit would just leave, I guess. I don't know. I don't really understand how acupuncture works. I did that. That didn't help. So during this time, I'm like, okay, I need to just like keep it pushing, you know, and not give it so much of my energy. During this time, I was living in a communal house that I wasn't really into. It was a beautiful house, but I wasn't really into it. So I gave my 30-day notice of moving out of there. And I was working a job that was in my field. I was farming, and I didn't like management. So then I left there. And I gave my 2 weeks notice for that. And for some reason in my mind, this made perfect sense, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a van, and I'm going to live in that van and go to Yosemite and live there forever. Okay. So that was my plan. And I left where I was living. I quit my job, and I didn't have that van. Okay. So then I found myself jobless. I found myself homeless. And I was driven to live in the house that I grew up in, but nobody has lived there for a very long time because it's a really rundown house. There's no plumbing. There's no walls. The windows are broken. The doors don't lock. There's no electricity. It was basically just a shell of a house, right? So that we were working on and had plans to work on, but like everybody's living in a different neighborhood now. So it was kind of just sitting there. So I was like, you know what? Oh, I could go there. Like, my mom owns this house still. And so I'm going to go and live there, and then, basically get another job and just like stack up, and then I'll get the van, and then I'll bounce. Right. Oh, so then, I go to this house, and it was really depressing, and it was really hard, and it was very, just made me feel like I was going crazy, you know? I feel like I was going crazy. And so during this time, I would get jobs, work there for 5 days. This happened 3 times. I got garden-based, plant-based jobs, would work there for 5 days, and then something would happen and I wouldn't be there anymore. First time, I got a job at a nursery. 5 days in, I hit my head, got a concussion, got the flu at the same time. So I was out of it, and I quit. And there was this whole thing with them like lying about like the fact that I hit my head. They didn't want to pay workers' comp, whatever. So then I left there, and I was like, oh, that sucked. Then I got a job at a landscaping company. where we were doing very dumb things for rich people. And I asked one of my coworkers, why are we doing this? One time we were like scraping up this really healthy grass and laying and stapling down to the ground this really unhealthy sod, like rolled up real grass, whatever. So I asked my coworker, why are we doing this? And then he was like, don't ask questions. And then the supervisor heard me and then fired me the next day. I was like, what? Then I got a job at a greenhouse. And then I kept getting all these terrible headaches, and I found out it's because they're spraying pesticides without telling me, and they had black mold in there. So it was just a really unhealthy environment. So then I left there, and that happened over the next like 4 months after I left my job and I left my house. So I'm like, what is going on, right? And it was the most impoverished time of my life. I remember I remember having cents in my bank account. Cents, literally. I remember this one, I would keep video journals. I may post them here because how they have changed. But I remember having video journals of having 17 cents in my account. Then it would go up to 32 cents the next month when I'm doing my video journal. I'm like, well, you have 16 more cents, whatever. And I'm like, okay, now I have $10. Or like, then I would be back down to like, my bank account would be negative. And I would be like, yo, it's so hard to do anything. Like, it's so hard to buy food. It's so hard to like go out, even to a cafe. Like, I remember having to always check my bank account to see if I would be able to buy a coffee or buy a tea. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, I just literally didn't have any money. And it was really hard, like not having any plumbing in the house and having to go to bathroom in like buckets and having to dispose of it myself. Oh, I feel like I'm about to cry again. Oh, because I cry like daily because I can't believe of how things have changed. But it was really hard. Sorry.